Hey everyone, thank you for choosing Williampedia. I make funny videos about historical facts I find online. Subscribe if that sounds interesting to you. If you have any ideas for videos, please throw them in the comments. Also, I have memberships now if you want to be one. Today we're going to be talking about human body parts. Specifically, we're going to be talking about body parts that have been kept as relics by major religions, museums, or just your run-of-the-mill body part collector. I mean, we've all got that one friend who's got Joseph Haydn's skull.
What has that friend? It's just
That's
you.
just me?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, let's get into it. If you've ever wanted to know what Thomas Edison's last breath looks like, you can see it on display at the Henry Ford in Dearborn, Michigan, inside of a test tube. If this kind of an exhibit sounds a little bit odd to you, the story of how this exhibit even came to be is even more strange. On October 18th, 1931, Thomas Edison died in his Glen Mount, New Jersey home. Edison apparently died not only of diabetes, but also of Bright's disease, turmeric poisoning, and a gastric ulcer. It's anyone's guess as to how Edison could have possibly contracted these conditions. I mean, he only did things like sleep 3 to 5 hours every night because he believed that sleep was, quote, a bad habit, and habitually chewed tobacco up until the very day he died. Who knows? Could have been anything that killed the geezer. During his lifetime, Edison had been great friends with the American business magnate and all-around weird guy, Henry Ford. Henry Ford, whom you all probably know as the only American Hitler mentioned positively in Mein Kampf, or you probably know him better as the man Heinrich Himmler described as, quote, one of our most valuable, important, and witty fighters. Or, I mean, maybe there's a small chance that you might know of his other projects like, Ford Motors. Ford was an eccentric Freemason who believed in reincarnation, and according to writer William Palmer, he believed, quote, that the mind contains millions of entities full of messages that are transmitted between lives. Essentially, he believed that the human mind was a collection of little people or forces bouncing around within. I suppose his little people were predominantly anti-Semitic. He believed quite heavily in mysticism, stating that, quote, I was pushed by invisible forces within and without me, and that, quote, when a boy of 16 years of age, without mechanical training, I was able to take a watch apart and put it together. In short, he was probably autistic. Side fact, he was given the Nazi equivalent of the Medal of Honor for writing books that inspired the Holocaust. Like I said, probably autistic. I don't know, maybe his autistic hyperfixation was just hating Jewish people. Somehow it doesn't surprise me that the inventor of the Ford F-150 was a Nazi-decorated super racist. There's just something about driving a Ford truck that I think makes somebody 20 to 30% more racist. Ford would be proud. Built Ford proud. Built white proud.
Built white proud.
People talk about casual racism like it's a huge problem. This is competitive racism. Honestly, in the running for the most racist guy ever. Back to Edison. There are different perspectives on how Ford came into the possession of his best friend's last dying breath. One of them supposes that there have just happened to be test tubes in the room. When Edison's son Charles noticed them, he sealed them with wax and offered one of them to Ford as a gift. Another theory suggests that Ford convinced Charles to sit by the bed, hold the tube up to Edison's mouth as he died, so as to capture his essence, and hopefully for future scientists to eventually revive Edison from the aether. Yes, that was the actual plan. Ford asked for a test tube of his best friend's soul so that one day he might be revived. That's bros right there. I mean, that's bro code. If they ever brought Thomas Edison back, what would he even do? I mean, he was around when light bulbs didn't exist. That's why he invented them. How could he possibly adapt to iPads? Bet you $100 the first thing you do is play Escape Tsunami for Brain Rots on Roblox. The official Henry Ford Museum states that, quote, it is alleged that Henry Ford asked Thomas A. Edison's son, Charles, to collect an exhaled breath from the lungs of Ford's dying hero and friend. This test tube was found at Ford's Fair Lane mansion. So the prevailing theory is that Ford asked for it, not that it just happened by accident. Also, the tube wasn't discovered until 3 years after Ford's death. So that guy was clutching that thing. Like nobody knew about it except for him, and he did not want to share. Do you think he kept it as like a keychain maybe? Was that the first keychain since he invented cars? Just coolin' with your pal's soul in your pocket? This entire story kind of begs the question of whether they were the best of friends or the gayest of friends. Or maybe both. Maybe they were the gayest of best friends. An 18th century French king had his heart turned into paint and an appetizer. Let me explain. The French king Louis XIV is remembered as a very successful and capable king, as he turned France into a powerhouse in the late 17th and early 18th century. While he's remembered as a very capable ruler, interpersonally, he is remembered as damn near a megalomaniac. He gave himself the personal nickname of Sun King to imply that he is the center of the universe, and he had a personal motto of Nec pluribus impar, which means none his equal. Even though Louis fancied himself as God's gift to Earth, he went bald at 20 and lost all of his teeth by 40, even some of his mistresses remarking that he had incredibly bad breath. Despite all these things, Why is the camera on me? I'm not in this part. Despite all these things, King Louis still did what many great men in history had done before him. He died. He died of gangrene in Versailles, France on the 1st of September, 1715. As far as times to die for French kings go, this was a pretty good one. He was only 2 kings away from the French Revolution. If you are unfamiliar with the French Revolution, you may benefit from a high school education. All you need to know is that the French have a very difficult time respecting people. He was buried at the Basilica of Saint-Denis outside Paris. His body was left untouched until the French Revolution, and in the year 1792, his tomb was desecrated and his remains were all but destroyed by angry Frenchmen. I say all but destroyed because the term all but sounds like I'm saying all but, which is funny. But I also say it because all but his heart was destroyed, having been retrieved by French architect Louis-François Petit-Radel. Also, I don't give a fucking shit. I'm not learning the pronunciations of these French names. You can correct me in the comments all you want. Not doing it. Not happening. Sorry. Radel is said to have sold pieces of the heart to artists such as Alexander Pau de Saint-Martin to be made into paint. Researchers have actually confirmed that one of Saint-Martin's paintings, Vue de Con, does actually possess traces of King Louis XIV's blood. However, they also stated that, quote, what a shame. Frankly, Vue de Con is a daub. The researchers thought that the painting was trash. I mean, honestly, kinda. They dug it out of the basement to find this thing. It wasn't even on display. The guy had paint made of king's blood, and he chose to paint garbage. Maybe it was a statement about hating the monarchy or whatever, use the king's blood to make a shit painting. Whatever the reason is, it's a bad reason. Moving on. Somehow, the Archbishop of York, Edward Harcourt, I'm shortening that to just Harcourt, came into possession of a piece of the king's heart that he kept in a silver locket. The bishop had a habit of showing off this locket to guests and friends. Pride cometh before the fall, because during a formal dinner in 1848, the bishop had not counted on the Olympic-level fat-ass Dean of Westminster Abbey, William Buckland. William Buckland was a prolific paleontologist who stated famously that he would, quote, eat his way through the animal kingdom. By this, he meant he was trying to eat every animal he could possibly get his hands on, from elephant to mole, which was his least favorite, by the way. He ate it all. Guy who essentially eats anything. You might be seeing where this is going. During the previously mentioned dinner in 1848, when the bishop finally finished showing the heart to all the other guests, he approached Buckland. He is said to have declared, quote, I have eaten many strange things, but I have never eaten the heart of a king before. Immediately following this statement, without any kind of request to the bishop, he picked up the remaining heart from the locket, looked at it for a second, and proceeded to eat and swallow it. It's important to note that Buckland not only did this to see what it tasted like, but also because he thought it would be funny. He ate a mummified human heart as a joke. Also worth mentioning, given the fact that Buckland was English, it's not hard to see why he'd eat such a thing. I mean, the majority of English cuisine looks and tastes like mummy heart. I'm calling English food bad, isn't that groundbreaking? Another account says that he might have thought the heart was some kind of a stone and wanted to taste it to see what mineral it was, and accidentally swallowed it in the process. This story arguably makes less sense. Why are you tasting a rock? Is that something that paleontologists do? If you're a paleontologist, sound off in the comments. Let us know, have you ever tried eating a rock that you thought was a rock but actually turned out to be a fragment of a king's heart? Let us know. Thanks for watching the video, guys. I really appreciate you. If you guys want to support the channel, I got a Discord. I got memberships now. You can become a member. So support directly that way if you feel like it. Anyways, that's the whole video, so see ya.